But yeah, as I was saying last time, guys, I mean, the experience is pretty decent. Hang on a second. This flame isn't illuminating any light into the damn room. I mean, if I put this grenade interceptor down, you can see it illuminating. That's broken. So, yeah, that is completely piss poor, guys. I mean, if you look at the lighting there, it's supposed to illuminate the room. And this is the other thing. I don't know why it's called Nightfall. Because it's still daylight outside. But, you know, brain-dead people don't think nowadays. Yeah, no idea why it's called Nightfall. It's still daylight. Now you tell me if you can see anything.
Alright guys, welcome back to another video. So, continuing off from the last video, I've gotten a mixed bag of responses. It's quite interesting actually. Some people agree with some of my points. These are legit talking points as well, guys. I'm not just talking shit. But then again, there are some other really interesting takes, which is quite shocking to see actually. But we're going to get into that in a second. Now, I'm not going to pretend this is a news channel. I don't report instantly on the updates. I don't sit at home watching out for what DICE put out every single day. You know, again, I have a full-time job. I'm a blue-collared worker at this point, and a lot of my content is basically orientated around being critical of the game and trying to shepherd this franchise in a positive, constructive direction. That just doesn't seem to be happening at this point, and I'm calling it out, and I want to see some accountability, okay? Because what we have so far is severely lacking, okay? In terms of AAA flagship title quality. It's just not there, okay? And that's a core point of my argument. Now, if you're one of those people who are just going to say, you're just being fucking negative all the time. Listen, I ain't going to respond to that bullshit. Come up with an argument, okay? There is no logic behind that ad hominem. Come up with an argument, okay? So again, I was fairly critical of the recent roadmap, the future content coming into Battlefield 6, okay? Again, just to reiterate what we've gone over briefly, we just concluded with Season 2 with Operations Mode, which, let's be honest, is a piece of shit, okay? It's not really Operations Mode. They haven't really done any justice in terms of respecting the legacy of that mode from BF1. It's a returning mode. That mode pretty much established behemoths, okay? And that was a massive missed opportunity right there. They didn't bring in any behemoths. This mode is an LTM, and it's exclusive to Contaminated. Contaminated in and of itself was split into two separate maps, which they've just glued together to form one cohesive map, and it's this level of substitution echoes throughout the entire game. Okay, you see this pattern repeat again and again with every update. Okay, now going into the leaks, it's been confirmed so far that we're getting Railway to Goldmud. We are also getting a Grand Bazaar remake. This is technically just another remake, okay? I've seen the floor plans, I've put them side-by-side comparisons. It is literally a carbon copy at this point, okay? You're talking about slight differences in visuals, but it's technically a one-to-one in terms of map plan, okay? Then you're talking about some returning features, which, let's be honest, should have been in the game day one. Again, I am more focused on the maps here, okay? Going into the next month in July, we're talking about the introduction of naval combat. And again, you know, this was one of my arguments. This should have been in the game day one, okay? Water physics were broken day one. There is no ample space for naval combat in the base game. It's completely missing. And why is that? Okay, you have to ask, why is that? Now, the map is another returning map. So we're talking already 3 remakes with Wake Island being remade here, which they've called a fan favorite map. In this day and age, let's be honest, I don't think anyone's truly excited for Wake Island, considering you have such a dynamic roster in BF4. Just the range of iconic maps there in that game were truly something special. You had such an interesting range of maps right there, from medium to large scale maps, urban to rural terrain, each with different biomes, different themes. Really interesting game right there. One of my favorite battlefields of all time. That and BF3 and Bad Company 2 and even BF1, I throw that in there. A little bit of BF5. So we're talking about 3 remakes, okay? This is crazy to me because If you're constantly relying on recycling maps from the past, that shows to me that this team are creatively tapped out. That shouldn't be happening. This is BF6. I'm not trying to play BF4 reskins here, alright? Jeez, man. This is an entirely new, different game, and I expect to see entirely new, different content coming into this game. Not recycling. Okay, and this is another thing why Premium was so important, because it allowed you to condense your DLCs into one unique package. Okay, so you'd focus one package, one DLC on naval combat, one DLC focused on remakes, one DLC focused on an entirely new different environment, one DLC focused on, it could be a winter theme, and some maybe introducing new vehicles here and there. Okay, so everything was a cohesive fit into the game. Right now, there is no order. There just seems to be chaos, and they're just fucking remaking maps constantly at this point. They did it with the base game, remake of Firestorm. Okay, Season 2, remake, well, a map inspired by Mount Grappa. Season 3, 3 remakes. Wake Island, Grand Bazaar, and Golmud Railway. And again, all of the content coming in seems to be carefully designed for the developers to do as little work as possible. These are either small CQC maps, or they're really easy to make maps. The only effort I can see going into this game so far is Suru Reef. And, you know, let's be honest, isn't very difficult to recreate. It's literally an open environment, tons of ocean space everywhere, so, you know, you could potentially focus this map on naval warfare. People are saying elements of this map are actually inspired by Hainan Resort, so I'd question if this is even a true original piece of content right here. Looking at the map itself, I don't truly believe that this is heavily borrowing from Hainan Resort, but the hotel area itself does seem to look really similar to the Hainan Resort Coastal Hotel. Now, I really enjoyed this map back in BF4. I had a ton of fun with this map. There was also the Levolution element with the hotel itself. You could completely destroy that hotel. Well, not completely. You could destroy both ends of the hotel. Are they going to reintroduce that level of destruction with this map here? I'm not too sure, but there is opportunity for that. Okay, the map isn't very dense with objects, but that being said, are they going to take advantage of it? Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what the content will bring, essentially, in this game. I'm not too optimistic about this coming season. I just do not think that the quality on offer here is substantial enough. Now, there does appear to be some additional leaks coming into this game in regards to the last final map on this roadmap. Now, there's been rumors, leakers have basically pointed out that this could potentially be more remakes coming into the game. Okay, so people have speculated that Downtown could be coming into this game. Downtown returning from Hardline. And now this map right here wasn't exactly the best map in the game. It plays really similar to Dawnbreaker from BF4, which was the initial speculation. That being said, these are all mediocre maps. I'm not saying that they're terrible maps. I'm just saying, in terms of remakes, these are not typically maps I'd go for if I was to remake a map. There are literally bigger and better fan favorite maps you can pick from. Again, Caspian Border, Gulf of Oman. You need to have some kind of maps which cater to the entire range of the sandbox. Okay, so boats, jets, helicopters, and so on. Okay, again, we have to remember the context. Okay, this game is like 98% CQC heavy. There is no range in this game for the entire sandbox of vehicles. Okay, it's mostly an infantry focused game, so you need to have maps at this point which focus on large scale warfare. Okay, so you can at least balance the range, because at the moment there's just a massive imbalance. Okay, like it's extremely lopsided in one direction of CQC focused maps just everywhere, and that's basically drained most of your audience at this point. You know, I don't know how people have put 200 plus hours already in this game. I'm already tired of this sack of shit. Like, there is just nothing here. There is no range. Okay, this game is brain dead at this point. It was literally made by people with autism. Okay, for autistic people. That's literally who this game was made for. Okay, the COD audience. Okay, so yeah, in terms of maps, you know, if I was to bring back certain maps from previous games, right off the bat, I recommend Caspian Border, okay? That's a pretty decent remake right there. You can't go wrong with Caspian Border, okay? There is a lot of work you need to do with the geometry, but in terms of the layout of the map, it would suit BF6 really well, I believe. Not the BF3 remake, okay? That would just be bland. I'm talking about the BF4 remake with a massive wall. I honestly believe that map, on top of Gulf of Oman, would be two maps worthy of a remake, okay? I'm just not seeing the purpose of Goldmud, apart from the reason that it's the largest map in the game and it caters to the sandbox. Okay, that's great, okay? But, you know, you just need to have real, you know, iconic maps in this game, and it's just, I'm not seeing it at the moment. Yeah, there just seems to be a very strange imbalance going on with this game. It gets to a point where you're like, okay guys, we need to start making real maps, not just remaking shit from the past that we've already played. It's tiring at this point. There's nothing interesting about that. I'm not understanding. You know, I've put thousands of hours into BF3, BF4. I want to see something new at this point, not just remakes. But again, I do hope to clarify some of this scale question, essentially in sort of a concept DLC video I'm making. Again, in that I aim to address the scale question and pretty much provide maps which can complement the sandbox. But the thing is, this is the problem with BF6, okay? It's because the vehicle sandbox in this game is absolutely dog shit. Yeah, there just always seems to be a scaling problem in this game. Maps aren't big enough. The only map big enough at this point is Suru Reef, the only original piece of content coming into this game, which might not even be fucking original content. Sorry, I'm driving, guys. You fucking cunts taking my spot and shit. Ultimately, my argument is that this development team need to provide original content. You cannot keep relying on the same tactic over and over again of, here's a remake from the past which you've already played, already put hundreds of hours into, and we're just going to give that to you and hope you don't notice because we're creatively bankrupt at this point. And yeah, it's just not good enough for a AAA flagship title, guys. Okay, again, 4 studios currently working on this game, $400 million budget, and over 100 plus developers in each of these studios. You're telling me that they cannot create original ideas? Yeah, it's completely crazy. In regards to the discourse regarding this roadmap, now again, you have some people who are thinking about this logically. They're saying, okay, they're more in line with how I'm thinking, which is the developers need to provide original content, okay? You cannot keep relying on remakes to support the game. It's just fucking lazy, okay? The developers are being lazy, okay? And they're capitalizing on content which should have been in the game day one, okay? I've already outlined the strategy of this live service plan, which is essentially to provide you with the meat of the game as DLC going forward into the future for the game. That meat should have been in the game at launch. Okay, instead what we got was a bare bones project, essentially. Does that make any logical sense to you? Okay, there is the counter argument to all of this, is the way that they justify it, these people. They're saying, okay, well, if the alternative is we're going to get stupid maps like Blackwell Fields and possibly Eastwood, which was a decent map, I'm not going to flame them too much for that map. If that's the alternative, then they'd rather take these remakes. Well, let me put this in plain English for you to understand. What that essentially means is if they can't provide good quality maps because they don't have the skills and talents to provide those good quality maps, then these people, this audience, would rather accept remakes. None of this is fucking acceptable behavior. I'm sorry. You need to take that shit and stick it right back in your asshole and give it a 90-degree twist. This is horseshit, okay? We're talking about a flagship title. Battlefield is something that was built on large-scale maps, was completely missing in the game at launch. 98% of this game was CQC heavy, okay? So we didn't complain too much about that. We let you have that shit, okay? Maybe they're gonna introduce large-scale maps as DLC, okay? But that would help. Any logical person would say, okay, that would help balance out the maps in this game. They wanted to capitalize on that COD audience. Okay, we understand. So you've had your fun there. Now give us the large-scale maps. What we seem to keep getting is small shit, tiny ass shit, and it seems to be on a substitution, okay? I've already detailed exactly what this substitution is, okay? They provide you with remakes. They provide you with original maps, which are really just inspired by something else from the past again. And then again, all of the fucking content should have been in the game Day one, all of those core features, guys. The server browser, multiplayer leaderboards, proximity chat, basic core features, man. Should have been in there day one. Okay, so anyone trying to gaslight you or say, okay, well, you're just being an asshole. Okay, are you ever happy about anything? That's not the point, guys. I'm not trying to be a dickhead here. This is the standard that BF4 set. You're telling me a sequel to BF4, a spiritual successor to BF4, cannot deliver any of that on release. Then it's not a spiritual successor, then is it? What this game was, it was trying to give you a Bad Company 2 style game. Okay, so what you got in terms of content was literally that from the 360 era. That's their capacity. Okay, so again, the core of my argument, it all hones in on this development team and their capacity and their ability to deliver this project, their abilities to complete a cohesive piece of work. Okay, it's all significantly reduced. All cohesion is lost. There is massive confusion going on here. Okay, people don't seem to understand the urgency because they can't fucking see it. Most of the audience, you're talking about people who watch these big YouTubers and they're all trying to hype you up for this update. The audience who typically absorb all of this content are typically children or just teenagers, early teenagers, and none of them really understand the true scale or urgency of the problem here. But yeah, I just basically wanted to highlight the discourse surrounding this update. Yeah, don't believe this hype, okay? Most of it is all artificial. None of it's organic, okay? Most of this criticism, this development team, these YouTubers, they all know it. They're just not willing to highlight it or give it any credibility, okay? Because that, again, would hurt their sponsorships, their relationships with the franchise itself, the development teams, and so on. Okay, so in a sense, they're compromised. These people have to be positive constantly, and that pretty much is the definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over again, despite the glaring problems which I've highlighted in great detail, guys. If we're going to continuously ignore my warnings, well, then the future of this franchise is in deep shit. Okay, you can expect to see more remakes, more lack of quality of content. Everybody fucking knows this, okay? What's going on here is this small portion of the community are really loud. So they make this update look really incredible, really glamorous, like it's something new coming into the game, and everyone needs to be fucking hyped for it. The majority of the audience and the people who've left are looking at this update thinking, wow, more remakes, more substitutional shit, and again, core features which should have been in the game day one, and you've essentially lost their trust at this point. You're going to have to do a lot more work as a development team to bring this audience back. Like I've said before, I mean, if you released 7 DLCs, if you released 7 high-quality maps tomorrow, okay, all unique locations, including naval warfare. None of them are remakes. None of them are inspired by anything else. These are real, fresh pieces of content right here. You could bring back a substantial amount of that audience back, okay? But that would take a massive combined effort right there. And they just do not have the manpower, okay? Manpower is what I'm talking about here. Not the 52% representation of women in this company. Okay, I'm not expecting them to do any of the heavy lifting in this case, okay? You're talking about over 50% of this workforce are females. Yeah, I mean, that's very telling right there why we haven't got substantial amount of content on day one. It's very telling why this game is very disconnected and all over the place, okay? Because this development team, their focus is on diversity and all the wrong bullshit that we don't need, okay? And again, if you look at this in terms of geopolitics, that's a specific culture right there that leans into progressivism, and these are typically leftists, you know, with the pronouns and shit, you know, the blue-haired feminists and so on, and the gay lesbo men, whatever the fuck they are. So that's the current state of this development team. Okay, you look at other games surrounding this franchise, all gone through the same problems. They all destroy themselves eventually at some point. Okay, but anyway, yeah, that's gonna do it for this one, guys. See you in the next one.